So we'll call the meeting to order, and then if we could do a roll call.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Absent. Thank you, Brittany. Could we get an approval of minutes for December 13th, 2022? Or any comments?
Yeah.
A second.
All those in
Abstain
favor?
since I wasn't here.
Okay, so we have one abstention for Commissioner Batterson. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have any public comment presentations? Not that I see.
Happy New Year, Commissioners.
Year.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
No, we do not have any
Okay.
at this time.
And then, so we'll go to new business. Action item A, Teresa Machado Plaza.
Thank you, Commissioners. So the item before you is to place Ms. Machado's name on the list of projects that the council can select from for naming a project. So the staff report's pretty clear. Teresa, a long-term employee with the department, really struck down in the prime of her life and her career with us, for that matter, as our rec division manager, and continues to, struggle her way through her condition. So the suggestion was made that we look at her as the next addition to our list of, I forget the exact name of the list, but the list to where the council can select from to name a facility. So right now, the staff's suggestion and the staff report in front of you is that we look at recommending the council consider at their next meeting naming the new plaza at Chapel Plaza, Teresa Machado Plaza. Teresa, for those of you that don't know her, was really involved in the entertainment component of the community for a long time. She was a performer. She was majorly involved in art organizations through our Arts Council and doing things like the Autumn Arts Festival. She was one of the key players in our All-America City campaign back in 1998. Herself and Phyllis Rodenberger were kind of the spearheads of that project. So at this time, the staff would like to make that recommendation to you, and I'm here to answer any questions, as is Dennis.
Any questions, Commissioners?
No?
No, I'll make the motion, though.
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I'm fully supportive of the staff's recommendation, but I think for me, not knowing the process or the person that's being recognized, I would like to see a process for future reference, at least, for nominations, et cetera.
We do have that in writing, and I can email that to you per your request.
It's really not your process, it is the council's process.
Yeah.
So you, for example, if a request was to come from police department, it wouldn't come to you at all. It would be police department doing their thing, or finance, or whoever it would be. Just so happens that since Teresa's in-house, and then also we're bringing the recommendation that, we'd like to have the commission's nod on that.
So it's not something that's like considered once a year. It's, if it happens to be appropriate and it comes up.
Right, and there is a list of names that the council can draw from for a facility. The fine line is that the Park Commission gets to select individual components of a facility, a picnic area, a room within a building, but the actual naming of the facility as a whole is at the council's discretion.
And I know in the past, Commissioner Lee, we've added names to the list as suggestions, but like I said, it's not our process necessarily. Just happens to be one of our staff.
Yeah. So yes, we will send it out so you have a familiarization with what the process is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
I'll
Commissioner,
second the motion.
so Commissioner Carey presented the motion, and then Commissioner Batterson seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can we go ahead and do a roll call?
Yeah,
just
let's
for
go
the
ahead and
record?
do a roll call. Brittany?
Commissioner Carey,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Yes.
Chair Velasco,
Yes,
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Thank you.
thanks. On to item B, tobacco grant.
You want to hit that?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We wanted to share with you some information that we received from the state of California that we have been approved for a grant to help stop underage smoking, as well as enforcement of the no-flavor tobacco ban, as well as vape pens, and other flavored smoking devices. So, working with the park rangers, we are asking the council to move forward to accept the grant. It would allow for one additional park service officer to be brought on for 3 years, the term of the grant, to ensure that the 85 current sellers get into compliance, and that's carrying the proper license. Currently, there are only 10 in the city that have the appropriate license to sell tobacco. So this will give an opportunity for this ranger to go out and educate these other sellers, to get them into compliance, give them some time and education, and then also down the road enforcement for those who choose not to get that license. They will also be responsible for community outreach and helping let the public know about the dangers of underage smoking, different events and activities. And the third component will be an underage attempt to buy component, so we will work with those that are 20 and younger and bring them on to attempt to buy tobacco products from local vendors in the hopes that the answer is they cannot. But also working with the county public health department, the city ranger program, city attorney, and other, the police department, others to kickstart this, hopefully in the next couple of weeks with the hiring of a park service officer.
Any questions?
That's great news.
Thank you.
And it's a 1-year grant, 2-year?
It's a 3-year grant. The total is over $400 and not quite $500,000 to cover all the expenses. It'll cover the full park service officer salary for the 3 years, a little bit of admin and overhead, mainly for supervision and clerical support, as we do have to do some documentation as we're going through the process and making sure that we're complying with not only the grant, but just state and local laws. As you know, the city council did pass a law stating that flavored tobacco was banned 3 years ago, approximately, and then just this December 20th, approximately, the state also came up with a ban as well. So we'll be enforcing both our local municipal laws as well as the state laws, and tracking that to make sure that our sellers are in compliance.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
I think that's wonderful, but I'm thinking after 3 years, let's say that it's very successful, have you put any thought into how can we continue the funding of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, the sustainability could be an issue after the 3 years, so we're looking at some models to see how we can continue to do that, maybe through the licensing fees. It does not mean that we would not be eligible again for the grant. We're actually a great market for this grant, considering the size of our population and location. So we would also be eligible to reapply for the grant for another 3 years. But in the meantime, we don't want to assume that that's a possibility either, and we'll be looking at different ways to sustain it after the grant period ends.
Thank you.
Thanks, Den. Item C, futsal court rules. Janice?
Commissioners, if you haven't been by Buena Vista Park lately, we have installed a new futsal court thanks to a Prop 68 per capita grant that we received. It is fully installed, even with no entry signs on it. It's very actively used. Thankfully, the signs only need to be up for 24 hours, and with the weather, staff have been busy doing other things and removing do not enter signs. So, but I was out there today, as a matter of fact. The fence, the guardrails are about 3.5 feet high, so even I could jump over them without much challenge. So there was about a dozen kids out there playing, no school, made for a great day to be outside in the small amount of sun breaks we had. So we did come up with some new rules for the futsal court. It is intended, the size of that court is intended for a 5-on-5 game. And I do have directions on futsal, which I've learned a lot about going through this process. But it's a really an interesting hybrid on soccer. It's a small soccer pitch, but they rotate goalkeepers, so 1 out of the 5 has to be a goalkeeper at all times. You have live substitutions similar to hockey, so it's a non-stop game. And it is 5-on-5. And one of the interesting rules about futsal is that you are not allowed to kick the ball over head height. If so, the other team gets a penalty kick. And so that will really hopefully motivate those to keep the ball within the court, because like I said, they're very short walls. But when I was out there today, just knowing the rules that I know, it looked like they were doing a good job following them. Other than the keeping out. So it was fun to watch and great to see that many people. Not only that, the 3 half-court basketball courts that we have out there were packed. There must have been 60 people, some on the court and some waiting to jump in at any minute. The open lawn area, as wet as it is, lots of kids out there with wet tennis shoes and I'm sure wet socks. But they really took advantage of that quick break we had in the rain, and we're out there this afternoon, so it's really great to see. The new rules are consistent as far as the use policies to most other parks. No motorized vehicles. The city reserves the right to close it and to remove those that are not following the rules or using the court for those unintended purposes. I doubt we're going to see a group of pickleball players out there competing to use the space, but you never know. But it is definitely lined and set up for futsal, and I'm not sure anyone else will be able to actually get out there and use it for anything else, because it's been busy since we opened it up a couple weeks ago. So hours are typical park hours. The interesting part will be the visitor and spectators. The nice thing is those walls are short, but we do ask that those visitors and spectators stand outside the walls because it's a smaller court. So, and then the right of exclusion also is the very last rule on there, and these signs are in print right now, will be going up in the next couple weeks. But it's really fun to go watch. It's very fast moving. I'm tired just from watching them, but please go out and check it out. It's a great addition to Buena Vista Park, and we'll go out there and get some anecdotal evidence, but I think it's an amazing addition.
Sounds like a tournament in the making.
It is already in the works. We're looking for something later this summer.
Okay, awesome. Any questions on that? All right. We don't have any old business, so we'll move to Director and Management Staff. Neville, Budget and Human Resources update.
Good evening, Chair Velasco and Commissioners. Start with budget update, which is in your handout in color. We are operating at 50% of the year. We're operating at a little under 5% under budget. One thing I do want to point out that I haven't pointed out at previous meetings is that these numbers are a little bit deceiving, because a lot of these costs that are just continuous costs are things like liability insurance and utility costs, operational transfers that go out to other departments to pay for other things. And so I'm going to give Parks Operations, for example. It says that we're about par at halfway through the year, but the reality is that we're not that way at all. We're probably closer to 85% in terms of discretionary spending, money that we can actually use. And that's one of the challenges we've had this fiscal year, is that insurance costs have gone up and utility costs have gone up, but our budgets didn't increase. And so what we previously would have spent on some maintenance activities or new supplies or equipment, we're having to foot the bill for some of these increases in insurance rates, and pensions gone up as well. And so, yeah, so that 45% looks really nice, but it's deceiving. And perhaps at the next meeting, if you're all right, Alex, that I'll present two of these documents, this one, and then the one of our discretionary spending of what we actually are able to spend on supplies and equipment. Any questions on budget?
So the reason, we asked Neville to kind of bring these numbers to you is ultimately, you are our connection to the council members. And, the budget is approved by the council. So ideally, we want you to be aware of, whatever positives we have and whatever negatives we have. And right now, our challenge is the budget. We've met with finance, we've met with the city manager's office, we've had several different discussions on why our budget ended up being where it is. And it's certainly different from our budget submittal. I think I've mentioned this before. And the challenge now is to try to manage it. And fortunately, we've been able to manage it through the smoke and mirrors of vacancies. We haven't had all our positions filled, so we've been able to move money from our personnel costs in to pay for our water bill or electric bill or to buy fertilizer or whatever it happens to be. But that will come back to roost before the end of the fiscal year. So Neville's going to be working on some numbers. We'll share them with you at the next meeting and kind of give you a more realistic view where we are, and then projecting out where we'll end up the year. This is the first of 2 years in our fiscal year budget. So the opportunity will be there at the mid-year in the June-July timeframe, or May-June timeframe, to go back to the council and identify any shortfalls that we might have.
Thank you.
So on recruitments and hiring, also in your packets, that's the status as of this afternoon of where we are with several vacancies and different processes in hiring. Some full-time positions, part-time positions. We are facing challenges with people accepting job offers. They get as far as interviewing and then turn down job offers. And the reality is that the pay that we're offering, I think, is the challenge for most. Also, we are trying to recruit part-time positions, and the same reality. People want full-time, and so we're having a bit of a challenge with filling some key positions, especially in the recreation division. Anybody have any questions on recruiting and hiring?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you. Noteworthy activities are in our report, pages 6 through 11. Unless anybody has any pressing comments, we'll move forward. All right. So, director's report, Alex?
Thank you, Commissioner Velasco. So as we get into the new year, and we just had council elections, this will be a transition month for us. Typically what will happen, the newly re-elected or newly elected council members will appoint their commissioners. Hopefully that will happen at their January 17th meeting. I'll try to schedule orientation for them between the 17th and your next commission meeting. At the next commission meeting, we'll do the transition of new commissioners and old commissioners. The chair will change. Commissioner Molina is scheduled to become the chair this cycle, and then the commission amongst themselves will select a vice chair, Typically, that's done on seniority, so we're running through that. So next, the February meeting will be more centered around making those changes. When the new chair is seated, then we'll make new commission committee appointments. Kind of, for those of you who've been on the commission, you know how it goes. But ideally, I'll give us an opportunity to thank Chair Velasco for her chairmanship this past year. So that's it for me, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, with the Recreation Division.
Thank you. I'm sorry that Noteworthy's was only 5 pages. It was a slow month. I'm really excited to share with you that it has been a great winter for us so far. Even with the rain, we have activities and programs tonight at Buena Vista Park at the cabin for the new s'more grant. So we're really moving ahead. As Neville said, we are having challenges with staffing, and our main boots on the ground, our program staff, it's hard to keep them, especially if there's full-time opportunities out there. So if you have great program staff, please have them give me a call. Some of the things I want to share with you for the start of the new year is don't forget to sign up for your 100-mile swim challenge. It's only 100 miles, and I know you can do it, but we do have the 100-mile swim challenge starting back up in January. We just finished the wedding expo, which was at the Veterans Memorial Community Center. We had 20 vendors. It was a great opportunity for not only weddings and quinceañeras, but for just about any type of party. It was a first-time event, and we consider it very successful. We had 500 people come through the doors, and the vendors were really impressed. And so we're looking at possibly having a fall, but definitely we'll be bringing it back next year as well. We really took the opportunity to work with our vendors who do this all the time, going to these expos, to get feedback and to learn what we can do better, and it was really well received, so we are thankful for them. As well as the staff. Bianca McDeal did an amazing job, and I got tons of compliments specifically about her, so I wanted to share that with you. She did a great job. We do have a Mahjong tournament. Get your dice fingers ready, coming up at the Senior Center. New to us this year is a Dungeons and Dragons tournament, which will take place at the Youth Center on April 2nd. So this is new to us as well. There is a huge following here on the Central Coast. Not only that, but we anticipate visitors from the Valley area and as far down south as LA. This group is huge. We have room for 350 participants. It is an all-day event from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m., and they will take over every room in the youth center. It's on a Sunday, so we're typically closed that day anyway, so it just worked out perfect. So we did say we're not allowing live action role playing as the liability is too high, but if you're in for a good LARPing show, we might have some demonstrations, so come by and check that out as well. And our self-defense program is going on right now, and I wanted to share this with you because it's really an opportunity for those that are interested in self-defense, teens, especially girls. We do definitely target to our teen gals to come learn self-defense. We do this every year, and it's been successful, so we continued again this year, and we'll continue it again probably in the fall as well, have another opportunity for that. Also, this month, kicking off actually the very beginning of February, is our Bark Ranger program. I know I've talked a little bit about this before. I love this, sorry. Alex is looking at me like, what the heck? But the Bark Ranger program is all about being a good citizen with your dog, bagging the waste, always on a leash, respecting wildlife, and knowing where you're going and what you need to bring with you. So this is specific. Well, I don't want to say specific. It is open to all of our city parks. We are having our kickoff event at Los Flores Ranch Park the beginning of February. So the owner of the people get this nice little tag for their leash, and the owner of the dog get this nice keychain. So we're just asking people to, as we celebrate dogs, some of us do, really to take care of our parks in the process. So we're excited to kick that off. I'm not done yet. Some new and exciting opportunities at the Senior Center this month is working with the Alzheimer's Association and working on healthy eating. So we'll be teaching cooking classes starting on January 13th. We have a new yoga class for seniors also at the Senior Center starting at the end of the month. And again, so much more. So I know that most of the commissioners follow Rec and Parks on Facebook. That's where you're going to find most of the information. But if you need any additional flyers and so on, please let me know. We are really working hard, as I've mentioned before, to produce everything in English and Spanish, and we are, I'd say, close to 70 to 80% of the way there. With 3 in-house translators able to help us with that. Not only flyers, but pretty much all of our documents, the futsal court rules and the how to play. And, you know, we're really working hard on making sure that we are reaching as many people we can with our communication. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis. Landmark Committee update? It's item 3. Is there any
No real
update?
update. Our next meeting will be coming up. I don't have the date in front of me, unfortunately, but we will have a full report. We're reviewing a couple of sites, which would be the Old Speedway, and looking at other opportunities to expand. The landmarks are now available online, as mentioned before. And so they are open for viewing, and then we're also working on how to submit for potential landmarks and items of interest here in the city, and we'll have that form available online later this year.
Okay, thank you. Operations Division, Casey?
Yes, thank you. Really quick, while I'm passing out the capital projects updates, I wanted to make a quick introduction.
Thank you.
So joining us today is Alana Rodriguez, and she just joined the City of Santa Maria Recreation and Parks Department as the new account clerk aide. So if you don't mind standing up and waving to everybody, Alana.
Hi, Alana.
So Alana's role is going to be assisting park operations with much of our administrative needs. So we have a long list of things we put together. One of the big things she's going to assist with up front is, assuming we move forward with the DOJ tobacco grant we were just discussing, getting all that data imported into a workable spreadsheet and sort of figuring out, you know, who needs those licenses so that we can start tasking people with going out and making those contacts. So she will be very busy up front, but hopefully things will settle down as she gets sort of used to her new role. So welcome.
Welcome, Alana. And where will she be housed? Sorry, where will she be? Her office?
The 815 West Cypress, the
Okay.
park operations
Okay.
location, Public Works.
Perfect, thanks, sorry.
Okay, so what I passed out is just the capital projects update, which I've also got on the screen here, although it may be a little bit small. So I will walk through those the best I can, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me. The Chapel Plaza, as you know, is more or less complete. We do have a pending punch list, a couple of items that need to be reworked. We've continued to finish up our east lot landscaping renovation, although with all this water, that's been delayed just a little bit between retasking people and just having to wait for the waters to sort of settle down. That should be done very quickly. Next up would be the Civic Center landscape renovation. So we did receive some concept design work on December 15th, which everybody had an opportunity to look at. We did send it back with some requests for some rework. So we're waiting on that right now. And I think we expect to see that towards the end of this month or the very 1st of February. So we should have a little better idea in about 3 weeks what that concept is going to look like before we move forward with that. Next is the Presker Trailhead. So overall, that parking lot expansion up north for people that want to go enjoy the Levee Trail, some of the riverbed trails, is done. We're probably looking at just a couple of other items. I think it might be a little bit soft up there right now with all this rain, so I think the gate was closed the last couple of days, but that's more or less ready to go. Veterans Memorial Project, as I think we discussed in December, That is in the process of going out for a rebid. So when I spoke to the engineers today, they indicated that they think that should go out by the end of this month. Right now, if things stay on track, I think we're hoping for groundbreaking sometime mid to late April. Obviously, things can change as they have before, but that's the current hope and goal. Smith Enos and Enos Ranch Community Convention Center, I don't have a lot of changes there unless Alex wants to jump in. I know that work continues on the old house over there. I've noticed that as I've driven by, but I don't think we have any major updates unless you have anything to contribute, Alex.
No, there's nothing major. We're still moving ahead with plan check.
Okay. As far as the Presker Park Trail, so that's that new loop that's going to go around the park, the decomposed granite trail. That is moving right along, so the bidding is complete on that. And in speaking with engineering today, they're expecting groundbreaking will be right around the middle part of February. So we should see that very quickly. And I think we're anticipating, again, weather permitting, the storm we just went through, but we're expecting roughly a 30-day completion. So that should move fairly quickly once we break. We don't have any delays. DeJoy Pocket Park, I don't think we have any major updates there unless anybody wants to jump in, correct me.
Casey, just a second. So I did have a conversation with our landscape architect today on that. He does have a concept that we're going to be receiving. So you'll probably see it at the February meeting. Keeping in mind that the concept that the neighborhood gave us the nod on was kind of the rolling hills kind of concept. So he's taken that theme on, and we've settled the, well, we have agreement with it from the county flood control district to go ahead and do an easement over that little section that we need from them. So all those are in line, so you'll see a design next meeting. We should be ready to go after that with construction documents.
Fletcher Park, skate park renovation, as everyone knows, that's done, so no real movement there. Futsal court, Dennis has already updated us on that. And the only other update for today as far as these projects goes is the Battles Trail. My understanding is we're in the process of acquiring an additional 30 feet in width for that path. So as that's completed, there'll be a need to do some redesign. I don't know that we have a date on that. I'll look to Dennis for that, but that's sort of the...
So we've been working with RM Design to create that space as far as concept and then moving forward with the final construction drawings. We actually had anticipated there was a possibility to get that extra 30 feet, and so we've actually had them working on 2 designs. So we're ahead of the game a little bit. There will be a little bit of time to get paperwork sorted, and I believe it was a $10 fee for that property. So Alex and I are going to chip in and $5 each and donate that. But we are moving quite quickly on the final design portion now that we have that finalized, that we're going to be doing that, and hopefully we'll break ground sometime later this summer, or at least, I should be careful there. We'll get out to bid later this summer and hopefully break ground really late summer. But the goal is that we do need to be completed with the project by March of 2024, as it'll give us time to complete final documentation that we need to get back to the state for funding. There is a phase 2 project for funding available right now, and we're determining if we're eligible through the Caltrans Clean California grant. We do get points knocked off right off the top because we have already been a recipient, but we think we have a good argument, so we'll be probably pursuing that in the future.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that sort of listing of report. I did bring a little bit of show and tell today, so I've got some photos to share with the group if there aren't any questions. Let me pause to find out if there are.
I don't think so. You can go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we took some updated photos. These are approximately 30 days old just because the weather, I didn't go take pictures of everything. But so this is the Chapel Plaza Park update. And I don't know who has visited lately, but this started out as just a really old beat up parking lot. So to turn into this beautiful park is just amazing. going to go through a couple of pictures here, sort of see what everything looks like right now. So, got the string lights. Obviously, we have all the pavers, all the beautiful landscaping. We've got the fencing. I think that's one of the items that's on the punch list. We've got to make some adjustments to gates over there, so we'll have to see how long that's going to take. There is some new equipment over there, so if you sort of look at that, that's musical amenities. Parking areas, that's nice and fresh, and so that connects up with the far eastern edge of the parking lot that's still being finalized. So that eastern edge that's not depicted here will have some new landscaping, and then we'll want to match up this fog seal and striping, but unfortunately, in speaking with our contractor, they informed us that we better hold off on that a little while longer with this weather. So that's sort of the latest look at the Chapel Plaza. And then the other thing I wanted to touch base on is just those of you that have not been out and about following the storm, we've got some photos to sort of see what everything looks like following the storm. So this photograph was taken this morning at Rodenberger. I don't know if you can see, you have to sort of zoom in here, but this is a bench right here, so you can see what that water level looks like. Quite a bit of water there. We've got some photos that were taken yesterday. This one is Stemus Basin. So this right here is obviously the fence for the Little League outfield. So I think we figured out that that was, what we say, it's got about 4 feet of water. Stemus actually did really well yesterday. We were concerned with the pool being in such close proximity about, continues to fill. But I think those drains were working well, and I don't think we saw it, I was over there 4 or 5 times, I don't think we saw it any higher than this level, so it performed very well. We've got another photo here of the basin that is at the new Enos Ranch Park. So as far as I can tell, we didn't see levels too high at that location. This next photo is a small retention basin in a neighborhood. So this is off of Miller and Enos Street, and this was at or over capacity. So this actually flowed over the banks onto Miller for a little while. And we have a couple of others here. So this photo was of the Santa Maria River flowing yesterday. So this was a Ranger vehicle that was on the Sway Bridge looking west towards the 101. That was about 1:30 in the afternoon. And then the last one here was taken approximately 2 o'clock yesterday, and so that's Jim May Park. So you can see just how much water is coming down the street and basin area. So a lot of water. Everybody did a really good job as far as the storm response. Obviously, there's still, more to come depending on what the winds do, and depending on what this next level of rain is starting this weekend. That's sort of the latest. And then I want to turn to Scott to see if he has anything else to add. He's been out looking at trees. We had some down trees, so he can speak to that.
You're good.
Yeah, well, the pictures really show yesterday, the basin's really filled up. We built a sandbag wall behind Paul Nelson Pool just in case, but the Seamus Basin drained appropriately. That picture Casey showed you was in the morning. Even with rain all day, the levels actually dropped about 6 inches. So it was only that initial rain during the night that was the heaviest that filled it up. Trees, we've done very well. We've had very few issues with trees, except unfortunately last night we lost an oak tree at the Vets Park. They're old trees. They've suffered from a lot of root compaction issues with just the clay on the park. And that combined with the soft soil, one fell over. My caution for going forward is we seem to do really well. Staff performed fine, but the soils are saturated, and they're going to stay saturated for a while. So expect any significant rain to see these basins fill up again, and as Casey mentioned, the trees are handling the strain of the rain, but if we get wind, that could be a problem because they're just not attached. The soil sort of turned to pudding, so that could be a little bit of an issue. But those are just cautionary words, but right now we're doing really well. We've had, except for that one big tree issue, everything's been minor. Most significant tree responses we've gone to have been private trees that I just feel aren't as well maintained. And so they're not really on our liability.
Thanks, Scott. Alex?
Commissioners, just so this morning on the Office of Emergency Management meeting, the forecast that the National Weather Service rep gave us was that we're probably good today and tomorrow, maybe Friday would be okay. Friday night and Saturday, probably anywhere between 1 inch and 2 inches, maybe even upwards of 3 in the South Coast. On Sunday day, maybe a little quieter. Sunday night and Monday, anywhere between another 1 inch to 2 inches of rain, countywide. So if you take the average, we're usually in that 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch on a normal rain event. And they're really considering these not part, well, they're part of that atmospheric river that they talk about, but that they're not as strong as the last storm that came through. We have experienced other minor facility issues. We opened a shelter, well, the city opened its EOC yesterday. It's Emergency Operations Center with Director of Public Works and Director of Utilities being the co-leaders of that. We opened a shelter at Miami Center yesterday. That fortunately wasn't used by anybody, but it was there if people needed someplace to go. Staff opened, I think it was around 5 p.m. and then worked until about 11 p.m. when it was deemed that no one was going to respond that needed sheltering, so we went ahead and shut that down. We had the ranger staff out assisting police in road closures. We had several road closures around the city where either a basin or a drainage plugged, and so there was water standing on the roads. Sonia and Thornburg over by the Miami Center was a trouble spot. Black Road, Blosser Road were all closed off at some point because of water flowing out of the county drainage ditches. So it was a busy night. As Casey mentioned, the staff responded well to everything. The tree that Scott mentioned did end up landing on 3 parked cars. So, we'll have some damage there that we'll have to deal with. We had our contractor, West Coast Arborist, responded to that particular issue and came out and handled that. Got it off the cars last night, and then today finished up the cleanup. So busy night, and again, just kudos to the staff for being available. Public Works and Utility staff, really, they carry the brunt of the burden since most of it was street flooding and drainage issues. One of the things that people don't realize, it's been so long, I think, is that the basins that you see, that's exactly what they're supposed to do. Santa Maria is very flat, so water accumulates in these drainage basins, and when they get full, they overflow into what is called a secondary escape route, which is typically the street next to them. Where I live at Stanley Park, it was getting pretty darn close to coming over the side there, and the neighbors were very concerned about flooding. But really what it does is it flows down that road. Probably there's either a drainage inlet or a canal at the other end where it's going to drop into, and it'll just flow out of the basin. It looks bad, but the system is working. Problems that we have is when those drainages get plugged and then they're not functioning properly. So, and we've had that happen in a couple of locations too. So I think the staff did a great job, and like I said, kudos to them for getting the work done. I'm sorry, one more thing. Dennis didn't mention the rec division move. I mean, not so much the leaky roof, but the other part.
Yeah, so we do have some water damage at some of our facilities. We've seen leaks at the youth center yesterday in the arts and crafts room and at the new rec division office. So we've had staff spread throughout the city in various offices. So the majority of the rec division staff are now working out of 810 West 810 South Oak, which is the old PEG building, which is our community access channel, behind the senior center, in front of the community garden. So we have all of our sports staff are located there, as well as a couple of our coordinators, and we have our graphic artist who's been living in the carriage house for a while, so she's glad to be amongst people again. And our community outreach coordinator. So about 70% of the rec staff are working out of that facility. We will keep youth and teen staff still working out of the youth center, and then aquatics will stay working out of the pool house for now, as it's all right there. But I'd love to give you guys a tour at some point. We're still in the moving in process, so as you can imagine, we got boxes everywhere. And now a couple of leaks. So, but yeah, we'll have an open house at that facility at some time in the spring. Thank
One
you.
of the things, the goal for that was to free up space in our buildings that were never intended to be office space. They were actually for community space, trying to make those spaces back available for public use, for meetings or whatever they are. Typically, we take over our conference room in one of the buildings and put desks in it and call it an office, but hopefully we're able to make this a second location for people wanting information about programs.
Awesome. Commissioner Lee, you had your hand.
Yeah. Just comment, I'm familiar with how Santa Maria used to be with all the flooding, so it appears that the city has done a tremendous job with the water. I did notice that the worst damage overall was probably the Union Valley area, which is probably county property. But apparently they had a sinkhole, and there was a lot of damage to property. And I'm just wondering, is there any anticipation, is there a way to, I don't know anything really about sinkholes, how it develops, et cetera, but I'm just curious if there's a possibility in the city anywhere that may be developed.
No, I don't know the answer to that. Did that come up at all at the EOC, Alex? Any concerns about sinkholes?
No, it didn't come up, and I hadn't heard about that one. It was just, I have our EOC on text right now. I'll ask them, but I haven't heard anything. I do know that one of the major issues in the 101 area, Parkland and that area of Orchid was the hoop houses that were installed west of the freeway created a huge amount of runoff that was not expected, and then that ended up migrating into the homes on Parkland. And I think they ended up evacuating 6 to 10 homes in that area. That's all I'm aware of, but I hadn't heard any sinkholes, but I'll ask about that too.
So it was near Union Valley.
Yeah.
It was,
Hibiscus Court in
Yes.
Orchid.
yes,
It's county.
that's what
Hibiscus.
it was.
Okay, yes, I
Hibiscus.
did hear that street name.
It's county property, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so any official business or community interest items? Anybody wants to go first?
Okay.
Take it away, Commissioner.
It's kind of was busy. I'll just, December 1st, we had the CPRS Equity in Inclusion Diversity Training, which every month it's wonderful. I just wanted to mention it in case any of y'all had the opportunity, because we're part of that CPRS, and the programs they offer us for free. And literally, I'm on a walk with it on my phone, and it's just amazing. So I highly recommend you guys look at those programs if you have the opportunity. December 2nd, the tree lighting at City Hall, always the best. December 7th, okay, I need to talk about this, was the Christmas light judging. And I was the only commissioner this year. I know everybody had stuff, but every year we do this, or, well, I do it, and some of us. And it's like so hard to figure out a house for this. And I say, okay, we need to look at these, look at our categories and, so I've done some research, quite a bit actually, because it made me crazy by myself. I mean, just, like, oh, where do we put stuff? But so, I was wondering if at the next meeting, or maybe even March, would be more appropriate to bring some ideas that we could go with, and just maybe we could get this fixed, so I won't be so frustrated next year.
I hear
I
a
would-
chair for the committee for next
I
year
was
being
gonna
volunteering.
say, maybe a committee could, the
Yeah.
Community Partnerships Committee could
Totally,
do that.
okay,
That
Yeah,
way
that's
it's a
great.
smaller
So
group
March,
yeah. Well, we
to
have-
decide that.
Okay,
yeah.
and I'll have my stuff together.
Got it.
The Santa Barbara County Recreational Needs Workshop that Dennis and I have been doing. We had I'm assuming that will be the last meeting via Zoom. It's the county recreational needs. The downtown committee, December 12th, we had a meeting, and it was I'm on the downtown committee representing our commission. And it was a really good meeting, and we're hammering out the details, the design details now for the downtown with the architects and everybody. And it's a lot, there were lots of ideas, and some of us are pretty, like, we've figured out what we want and what it should be. And so, so next week, they're taking us all to Sacramento. I keep saying Sacramento, San Jose for the day. And we're gonna go to Santana Row, because a lot of people think we should model our downtown after that, which a lot of us are fine with, as long as we keep our tile roofs and the flavor of our downtown. I just wanted to throw that out there, because it's the downtown committee and we're part of it. And December 13th, we did the Dudek Tree Zoom, which we'll be talking about that at some point. So I have a couple of questions and community things. You know that there's a tamale festival in Atascadero? Why don't we have that? It just seems so funny that they would have that. Anyway, it just seems like it would fit here. Also, concerts in the park. Where are the applications for the bands, and when is the cutoff? I have two different.
That's great. Yes, they've been calling already this year. We will be having our call to artists go out the very first week of March. So we're getting all the paperwork together. It does require specific licensing through BMI and ASCAP, and making sure that the artists can fulfill those obligations, as we're legally obligated to make sure that all the music is licensed, and we pay for those licenses. So we're really hoping, I'm hoping a little earlier, but at the latest, the first week of March.
Okay, and we'll have.
We will have that posted on social media, of course, and then also on the city website.
Okay.
And so the bands could go to the city website and get the information. Most of it will be through an electronic press kit, an EPK, which most bands are familiar with. We still will take old-fashioned by using a flash drive. We no longer accept CDs. Since we don't have a CD player anymore, but if needed, we can take it on a flash drive as well.
Okay. Let's see, a couple more things. Oh, the loose dogs. There's been a lot of talk about loose dogs, and I'm wondering if the Bark in the Park could be, is that gonna be a program where we reach out? Because there's so many loose dogs all of a sudden. And, yeah.
So we'll kick off at Los Flores Ranch, and our long-term goal is to work with partners such as Petco, PetSmart, and veterinarians to help promote the program, and get them involved as well to be partners and help support and promote the program as responsible dog owners.
Okay, because there's a big thing that happened at Grogan Park. I don't know if you heard about it, but yeah, with the dog thing. This morning, I did the environmental justice with the Alliance for Community Trees via Zoom. Are we still members of that? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay, because I was on it and they said, if you're not still a member, and I thought, we're members.
we're still members.
Yeah, I got to do
Yes.
it, so it was fine, but that's something else we can take great advantage of. Okay, thank you, that's it.
Thanks, Rebecca, appreciate that. Commissioner Batter?
I don't really have anything to add. I did a couple of things with Rebecca, but nothing else.
Commissioner Lee? I don't have anything to add, except for obviously all the events in December that were great, and then all the graffiti that's just been hammering the city. Again, just our response has been great. I know it's private property, but it's just unfortunate what they've been doing. And then obviously some canoeing today at Crossroads that I saw. So that was always exciting, how full that got. So just commending the city, because it's not just the storm response, it's the storm maintenance that we've all been doing for years, keeping our drains clean and tree trimming and street maintenance that's got us through whatever this was. So, and it's going to keep getting us. So thank you to all staff. And hopefully they continue to respond well.
Yep.
All right. So if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn till next regular meeting, February 14th at 4 p.m.
It's Valentine's Day.
So a box of chocolates for everybody.